This month, the month of Where the Turkey Rules, we are talking turkey this month about truth principles. The truth, and as I'm calling it really back to basics with a twist. New Thought leader Emmett Fox said this. He said, the truth movement is the only thing that can save the world from its ills. Everything else has already been tried. And that everything else that has already been tried to save the world from its ills probably has a lot to do with conflict. It has a lot to do with coercion. It has a lot to do with manipulation. It has a lot to do with dictating what it is that we're going to do. And that doesn't work. The New Thought movement is maybe the next step of what we want. Something that is more inclusive. Something that is for something and against nothing, as Mother Teresa would say. And so maybe, even within our own lives, the truth movement is the thing that can save us from our ills, us from our conflict, us from that war that is going on within us, because left to our own devices, we have already tried everything else. We have already tried to listen to that internal mind chatter. We have already tried to fit that square hole in the round peg. We have already tried to force other people to change. We have already tried all that other things. How about trying, really, this thing that we show up on Sundays for? There was an Air Force captain who became a lieutenant colonel, who now recently got promoted to colonel. And so he's just in his brand new office. And there's a knock at the door. Well, he sees this knock at the door, but he's a little pompous. He's a little arrogant. He wants to show off. This is his first day on the new job. And so he picks up the phone, because he wants to kind of put on some airs, right? So he picks up the phone and he's talking into the phone, and he says, yes, General, right away, General. I will tell the President right away. Yes, sir, no problem. I'll be on it and call the President right away, sir. Thank you, sir. So he hangs up the phone, and then he bellows out at the airman that had just knocked on the door, and what do you want? What are you doing here? And the airman says, well, nothing really important, sir, but I'm just here to hook up your phone. So what happens is, sometimes we're like that colonel. We want to put on some airs, right? We want to put ourselves in a good light. We want others to think highly of us. We want to show off in a way, not maybe in a negative way, but what happens is this. We have fallen into, just like this new colonel might have fallen into, that Mac Daddy of all thinking, we are not enough. I am not worthy. I am not good enough. I am basically flawed. And so what happens, we have these ideas that go on in our head. We're very good at bearing them, but we have these ideas that go on in our head. Somehow we're not worthy. Somehow we're flawed. Somehow we're not enough. Somehow we have to prove to other people and even in ourselves that we deserve what it is that we want. That we have to work hard. We've got a lot of these negative ideas about ourselves that go on in our head. And so we don't want to show that. So we position ourselves, we put on airs, we make a show that we are something more than what we are. And so what happens, though, is it's as if there's a war going on. And on the one side of the war are these ideas. These ideas that if anybody really knew the real me, this part of me that's angry, that's judgmental, that's could be arrogant, that holds a grudge, that's angry, that's selfish, that's petty, that talks about people behind their backs. I can't let anybody see that part. And that's not very spiritual. And if anybody really saw that part of me, why, of course that's not lovable. How could I show that to anyone? It might be reserved for those very close to us when we can't help ourselves. But we're not going to just show anyone. because we think that those aspects are bad. They're unlovable. They're unlikable. We don't want to show them. So that's one side of this war that's going on. And on the other side, there is this thought that we want to come into wholeness. We want to live an authentic life. And we somehow know that living an authentic life, it means to embrace all of ourselves, but yet we don't want to embrace this other part of ourselves because for many reasons. Sometimes we think that, we're told, we'll turn within, go to the light within. And then we might think, well, I don't want to. I'm afraid to. I'm not fearless, daring, and heroic. I don't want to because I'm afraid that there isn't light within. There's dark within. Because I know that there's anger and pettiness and resentment and judgment and all these other things, right? So that can't be light. So when you're asking me to go within, I'm only going to go this much in, where it's safe to go, because we're worried sometimes that if we go too dark, too deep, we're going to find the darkness. And I think that we're worried that we're going to stay there. That we're going to get so wrapped up in this dark part of who we are, we'll never come out of the other side. So we have that one, but we have that other part that wants to come out, that wants to embrace all of us, that wants to accept those parts of ourselves that we think are unacceptable, that wants to embrace those parts of ourselves that's unembraceable, that wants to love those parts of ourselves that's unlovable. And so we have a war going on. We have this thing where, we can't look at it because, we're in denial, but yet we want to be whole. And so it's that age-old struggle. It's the struggle between fear and faith. It's the struggle between right and wrong, between dark and light, between good and bad. It's the struggle between our old ideas and the new idea that wants to come out. It's that struggle, are we going to be heroic enough or are we going to succumb? And so what happens is for most of us, because we're told that it's not okay. It's not okay to go around in a bad mood. It's not okay to have a bad day. It's not okay to not go love yourself. It's just not okay. You've got to pretend, and it comes up from here on Sunday mornings too. Trust me. But you might hear, even out of my mouth, we have a lot of cute sayings in New Thought. Fake it till you make it. Act as if. And so we want to fake it till we make it. So let's say we're angry. Let's say we're unhappy. Let's say we're sad. Let's say we're lonely. Let's say we have some judgment going on. We're angry. We can't get along with family members. Whatever it is. Oh, okay, we got to hide that aspect of ourselves and act as if it doesn't exist. We've got to pretend that it's not there. Because if it is there and we really show it, well, as I said earlier, well, that's not very spiritual. And other people are going to say, well, that's not very spiritual. But who says it the loudest is our own internal mind chatter, our own monkey mind. Well, that's not very spiritual. And then we want to keep it buried. So we spend a lot of time hiding those aspects of who we are. We hide them, we bury them, we don't look at them, we ignore them. We're hoping and praying that if we never look, if we never acknowledge, that it will magically disappear. Maybe none of you do, but I think I have really fallen into that trap. If I never talk about it, I know it's there. It comes up at work. It rears its ugly head at very bad times, and I get in trouble a lot. And because and I'll say I can't help myself. And I think, so here's what happens. I'm going to just speak for me for a minute. Sometimes it is those darker places that I mistakenly think is the more truth of the truth about myself. That the nice part is not really true. It's just something it's just the whipped cream I've put on the poop. That sometimes I think that I'm the poop, but the whipped cream is what I'll show you, but the whipped cream is not the reality. So if that's what I think sometimes, then why do I want to ever go? Do you know what I'm saying? But because somehow it's easier for the monkey, for mine at least, to embrace, I don't want to say embrace the negative, but there's more energy there because I'm stuffing it down. It never gets to be healed. It never gets to be revealed. It never gets to see the light of day and be loved, or forget even loved, to be accepted. Or forget even being accepted, to be acknowledged. Probably forget even being acknowledged. It doesn't even get anything. So there's this part of myself, and maybe yourself, that is longing to just have a voice, free, without shame, without apology, to just have this voice. So, because you know, we have a lot of labels, right? We've got to be good, whatever that means to us. We have to be proper. We have to be the right wife, or the right husband, or the right daughter, or the right son, or the right parent, the right employee, the right neighbor. We have to be good. We have to act in certain ways. And if that part of ourselves, those parts of ourselves, those aspects that we're not happy about, we're a little bit ashamed of, gets in the way of our good, because we think it's only, oh, it's good or bad, right or wrong. We're into either or thinking. Either we're good or we're bad. Either we're acting correctly or we're not. But the truth is, it's both. It's both and. So Debbie Ford, author of The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, she writes this. She says, think for a moment how much energy it takes to hide something from yourself in the world. Try taking a piece of fruit, say a grapefruit, and carry it around with yourself in your hand all day. Now, keep this grapefruit out of your own sight and out of sight of the other people around you, so that you're hiding the grapefruit at all times so that no one can see it, not you and not even them. After a few hours, so you can imagine that, after a few hours, notice how much notice how much energy you are expending. This is what our bodies have to do all day long. Except they don't have just one piece of fruit. They have to deal with all of the pieces of fruit that you're trying to hide from yourself and from the world. She says that when we finally allow these truths about ourselves to surface, we will be free. We'll have all this excess energy, and we could spend that on our personal growth and on a path to achieve our highest goals. But we need to make peace with ourselves, and the world will mirror back at the same level of peace. And when we're in harmony with ourselves, we'll be in harmony with the whole world. So it's a lot of energy. So if it's in this fruit example, we could see we're so used to expending so much energy trying to hide those aspects of ourselves that we're almost used to it by now. But our bodies know. And more specifically, there is something about us within. Our souls know. Our essence knows. And so I have a question. What if all of these aspects of ourselves that we don't like, that we're trying to hide, what if they were really here? They were your soul's way of getting your attention so that you could acknowledge that and move into your greatest potential. What if? What if we're missing great opportunities of personal growth, spiritual growth, wisdom, and greatness simply because we're not listening to those aspects of ourselves that may have something very important to tell us? And I think that we think somehow we're not always thinking about others. You know, we're very self-centered, which is what we should be, because we can only think for ourselves, right? But I think that we think that we're the only ones. You know, I'm the only one that has judgment. I'm the only one that gets angry and then pretends it never happened. I'm the only one that stuffs my feelings. I'm the only one. Nobody else would know what I'm dealing with. I'm the only one. But when I'm in my senses, I know I'm not the only one. And I know that everyone can relate. But we're so fearful to show up in our truth and our wholeness and our authenticity. And so what sometimes that looks like is that we keep people away. We don't trust others. We don't let them in. That we're busy doing. We never allow ourselves the privilege to just be, to just allow, to just reflect. Maybe we avoid doing meditation for fear of what a level of silence and stillness will do for us and how much it might upset our equilibrium because we're afraid that dark side might, welcome to the dark side. This is what we're afraid. Darth Vader lives right within us, but what? Oh, this is a new and way better where I'm going. What? Darth Vader was the father of Luke Skywalker. It is the darkness that gave birth to like the greatest hero and the greatest light, right? Because within that darkness was the light originally, just lost its way. So what if we could turn, what if we're supposed to turn our mess into our message? What if that's the purpose? To embrace these little foibles that we have, that we are so afraid of. What if the gem of our entire life is right there? So for example, let me give an example of Chandra. She was singing her song. So she has a CD. I don't know what's going on in love, but not only that, poets, authors, songwriters, you have some massive feeling of, we're going to call it bad, something that rips your heart out. Something that, maybe you're really in that darkness. You feel like you're never going to trust again. You are ready to check out of the human race. And from that depth of despair, of misery, of the shadow, of the dark side, what happens? If you're a creative type, you might make a song out of it. A song that somebody else that you never even know will hear, and it may make the difference in their life. If you are a poet, maybe you write a poem. Maybe you write a book. Maybe you think, oh, I'm not creative, so I'm not going to go there. But you never know, just from your depth of understanding, who you're going to run into, who you're going to be able to help. Because you know what it feels like to go through that shadow of death, the valley of the shadow of death, right? We know, but we run away. So we want to be fearless. We want to be daring and heroic. And allow that fearlessness, if you will, to really take root. Because so here's the thing as well. Sometimes it's hard to reconcile. So you come up on Sunday mornings, and here's what I say every week. There's only one thing, and that one thing is God, and that one thing is good, and that one thing is wholeness, and that one thing is joy and magnificence and abundance and prosperity and peace. I say that every week. There's only one thing, and that one thing is the infinite. It is God. It is source energy. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's one thing. And therefore, because we're here, and there's only one thing, we must be it. So that feels good. I like that. I could listen to that all day long. All day, every day, I need to hear that. I love it. I can't get enough of it. Okay, good. Here's the war again. So the one side, but then we've got these other feelings. The things that we have determined, in our great knowledge, we have determined are not godlike. Well, my anger can't be God. My judgment can't be God. My resentment can't be God. My pettiness can't be God. My critical thinking can't be God. My laziness can't be God. My complaining can't be God. My lack of financial responsibility can't be God. My selfishness can't be God. So there's a disconnect. We have a hard time reconciling. But it's all God. Who's determined that it isn't? We've made up ideas in our mind. I mean, if the infinite was right here, right now, in human form, it would be laughing hysterically. Because here's what God would say, it's all me. The good, the bad, the smelly, the ugly, it's all me. It's all an aspect of who I am. I don't judge any of it. Why do you? I embrace it all. Why can't you? It is our own smallness that keeps us separated because we've been brought up. And I get it, we've got to get along. You know, but so much time is spent on, not on our own dive deep and embracing ourselves. So much time is spent because we're living from that Mac Daddy of false assumptions that I'm not good enough. So a lot of our time is spent on making sure other people like us, making sure we're approved by others. And then we completely forget that really what it's about is making sure we like us, making sure we approve of ourselves, and recognizing that it's all the tapestry, it's all a various aspect of who we are. So we want to embrace all of it. There was a woman who was coming out of a store, and she ran across a homeless woman, pretty gnarly and smelly, and the homeless woman asked if she had some money so that she could buy a meal. So the lady reached into her purse, gave her $20, and she says, but before I give you this $20, I mean, are you going to take this $20 and buy wine instead of food? And the woman says, oh, no, I gave up wine. I gave up drinking years ago. And then the woman says, okay, well, if I give you this $20, are you going to go shopping instead of buying food? Oh, no, I don't have time for shopping. All of my time, all of my energy is taken up just trying to survive. And the woman says, well, if I give you this $20, are you going to go get your hair done? Oh, no, she says. Are you crazy? I have not been inside a beauty parlor in like over 20 years. So the woman says, you know what? I'm not giving you this money at all. She says, I am going to take you out to dinner tonight with my husband. You are accompanying me and my husband to dinner. And the homeless lady was aghast, and she says, oh, surely that would not be proper. And wouldn't your husband be mad? And she says, no, it will be very good for him to see what happens to a woman when she no longer spends money on wine, shopping, and hair appointments. Okay. All of us, we have to embrace the entire thing of us. My talk this morning is called All of You. And all of you, meaning all of me and all of us individually, we're all part and parcel of the divine. We are all the glory of the one. And we have that capacity to be daring, fearless, and heroic. We just don't know it. And it doesn't take a ton of daring, fearlessness, and heroics to just embrace all of who we are. It's time to put away these old ideas that there's a part of us that is not good, that there's a part of us that is less than, that there's a part of us that is not worthy, that there's a part of us that needs to prove, that needs to somehow earn our way into the graces of the divine or into the graces of our own good. It's time to be fearless enough to address those issues that we are trying so hard to bury, to ignore, to not acknowledge, and embrace the entirety of who we are. To move into that sense of being completely whole, completely integrated with all the foibles. Because that's what makes for this wonderful tapestry called life. It is the ups and the downs and the ebbs and the flows, and we're not either dark or light. We're not either not worthy and a little bit of worthy. We're not either good or bad. We are the totality of everything, all of our traits, all of our personality quirks, all of our essence is really springing from the one. From the one. It's just patterns of thinking. So instead of rejecting little aspects of ourselves, let's bring it and embrace it. Let's allow ourselves, be courageous enough. Let's allow this day with veterans who have written the check, payable to the United States of America equal to, including our lives are dependent on us and how much we're committing to our own selves. So let's commit to really bringing ourselves into alignment, bringing ourselves into a recognition that there is nothing bad. It's only our judgment. In the divine world, it is all good. It's all part and parcel of the one. And when we can do that in conscious and deliberate ways, we will really step in to a brand new possibility paradigm. And so it is. So